Hi everyone, today's theme is more of the same, and what is good for us is also bad for us. Good news is bad news. So the good news is that the chart that you're looking at, Facebook, shows a leading stock moving higher, and while that looks good, let's go ahead and take a look at another stock that I know is breaking out today, GoPro. GoPro is a pretty sad case. I was kind of waiting for a pocket pivot point signal to generate at some point as it trended higher after finding the lows in August. It never once produced a pocket pivot point. First buy signal I passed on, 74% gain miss. Second buy signal passed on, 49% gain miss. This breakout, once again, there is no pocket pivot point signal to it. And with the market being the way it is, I'm not going to chase it. But it's good to see GoPro and Facebook looking strong in this market. That's the good news. The bad news also is that Facebook and GoPro are the only two real stocks that look real good in this market. So if you keep that myopic view of these two stocks, you think everything's good. But underneath, it's not that great. A recent long position of ours, EQM, is giving a full sell signal by closing below the low a day. SLCA is giving a full sell signal closing below the 50-day moving average on huge volume. TRGP is also closing below the 50-day moving average, officially killing our signal. And AAP is closing below the 50-day moving average, officially killing the long signal. ENPH is closing below the 20-day moving average, triggering another 50% sell signal. And DTV is moving back into the range where we went long, closing below the 10-day moving average on right around above average volume. As you can see here, it's slightly below average, but it's average. But overall, this thing should have been moving higher by now, and now after the big volume day here, it should have kept on moving higher. And the fact that it's closing below the low a day of that 87.10 closing at 86.82 is not good. So DTV is also 50% sell. So that's the reality of it. The other reality is in our top scan that produces the best stocks that do the best in uptrends. It took me a while to notice how strong this scan is. It is now apparent after seeing years post 2008 of stocks in this scan work that this is a scan I will continue to focus on until we get a start of a bull market like we had in 2003, like we had in 1999. By that I mean you get a follow-through day on huge clear volume and stocks breaking out everywhere, and you work right away, start producing gains in stocks right away. In 2009, the whole thing started off with lame volume. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, the same theme. However, if I'd been focused on the perfect speculator scan, would have done much better than what we have done. However, some recent stocks are starting to break down from that scan. EMES has now removed itself out of the scan following the breakdown of the 50-day moving average on heavy volume. HCLP is now a goner, but these are some pretty significant breakdowns in those two stocks, and more of that shows. While stocks like Rent show up, they're not back in the scan yet, but once it gets back to right around the 55 price range, Rent will be back in the perfect speculator scan, and I'll be looking at that as a long position in the future. But as you can see, it's giving another pocket pivot point signal today. Strong volume, strong BOP. TSV and MAC. TSV isn't really agreeing, but overall it is in an uptrending position from the August lows, and the MACD is confirming. So keep an eye on Rent. Let's see if it moves higher from here. I'm only not going long this stock today because we are in a difficult market. But as you can see with all the breakdowns out there, it's just a market to avoid. Stocks like Tesla took out the 50-day moving average yesterday. And like I said, whenever I have other stocks I'm still holding that are starting to look weak and starting to look a little weak with some of my oscillators rolling over, that's another big red flag on this market. But the bottom line is watching EMES, HCLP, EQM, SLCA, and TRGP perform the way they did today, all being perfect speculator scan and can some quality stocks. It's just not good. So on that note, we're going to go and wrap this video up. There are no new long positions. There are no new short positions, and I'm not going to add any hedges. SDOW is really tempting here, but I think short term we're a little oversold. I think we can back and fill, and then once we break out above the 50-day moving average on that, I'm thinking about going long SPXS, SPXU, or other candidates, UVXY, not TVIX. I just wanted to show you produce a pocket pivot point signal today, but there are other candidates if the selling continues. Basically, my indexes also wanted to show. You can see that the TSV starting to get to oversold levels, but the MACD and all of these indexes are nowhere near. And if you look at weeklies, it's even worse. They are very far away from being oversold at all. And as you can see in all of these still, including the Russell 2000, we are nowhere near oversold yet. Now the stochastics and the Wilders RSI, not shown on this chart, are getting to the oversold level on the Russell 2000, but still, they are still not oversold. And then once you take a look at a weekly, they're not on this chart, but they're not oversold either. But I'm going to bring up the other one so you can see the long-term oscillators and see that while they are getting over some short-term oversold levels, on the longer term, they are nowhere near oversold. So for anybody that says that, oh, we're so oversold here, we got to bounce, we got to rally, they're not quite really sure, I guess, what they're talking about, because the indexes paint a much different picture. Especially look at the NASDAQ, look at the MACD on a weekly and TSV, and look at the NASDAQ 100. And look at that MACD on the NASDAQ 100 weekly, way overbought still. And if you want to see the same situation, pull up the Stochastics 20-10-20 that I use, and or the Wilders RSI, which is 14-day Wilders RSI, and you will see some very overbought markets. All right, everyone, we'll see what Thursday throws for us. Right now, cash is king. Aloha.